Happy Friday! Welcome to the 3 Things I Learned, SaaS, Sports, Tech, and Live Events. This week we're talking about my alma mater, USC, and the death of the modern Pac-12. We knew this was coming. We talked about it on the radio a number of times. We can share those clips. But we're going to talk about how that impacts our business, the lessons we learned from it, and how that impacts us going forward. So first we're going to talk about what we talked about a few weeks ago. Remember when we said that history doesn't repeat itself, but people do? That's one of Voltaire's premises, and it's applicable here. If you take the time to read The Club, the foundation and formation of the English Premier League, you'll see a roadmap for what's happening here, where the top clubs are banding together. There's the power of revenue sharing and how that's split up amongst the biggest players, and the jettisoning of a number of traditions that in those cases went back hundreds of years, all at the foot of TV money that was coming from Sky Sports and a number of others, playing the same role that ESPN and Fox are playing currently in the college football landscape. None of what's happening is new. It's just being repackaged, as Kelly pointed out so well in his book, The Inevitable. There's a blueprint for the formation of a super league where the players are not unionized. And it's right in front of our face. Wouldn't be too surprised if the SEC, ESPN, Fox, and the Big Ten are paying attention to what happened over there over the past 25 years and applying that here. That's number one. Number two, punishments, sanctions, those things, they're never, ever forgotten. Too often in business, people rush to write people up, usually to cover their ass or some legal reason. But what we can see, what happened here with USC, is what happens with our teams, our partners, our customers, and the like in our business. You know, the NCAA came down pretty hard on USC with some pretty paper-thin reasoning in the early 2010s. Regardless of what anybody thinks about that case, the Reggie Bush case and the sanctions that came after it, Trojan Nation is not forgotten. I live down here and I see it on a daily basis. If there's a future for football with a watered-down influence from the NCAA or no influence whatsoever, I can assure you that USC, their fan base, and their boosters are going to be at the front of that parade. The Trojans don't feel any sympathy for the left-behind Pac-12 schools who were kicking them while they were down. Remember, the negative is much louder than the positive. We've talked about that, and how fear is much louder than hope. But that's also applicable when you're talking about the present and the past. So be very careful when wielding that sword, because it will come back to haunt you in the future. Nobody forgets those things. Our partners, our teams, our customers, all those. Don't do crappy things and expect people to forget it later. That's just not gonna happen. That's number two. And finally, number three, this is the reason we talked about a lot. You know, we got to go back on the air this week and got all kinds of praise for saying, you know, hey, you've been saying USC was going to leave the Pac-12 for a number of years. Now I thought they were going to go independent first and then make the move to a super conference, but that's neither here nor there. Why? Now, where did we learn that from? And that's where this lesson comes from. A rising tide may lift all boats, but not all boats have the same value. And if we overlook that in our business, we're going to get hurt. Ignore and get rid of those who put their self-interest in front of the team. In The System, a book written in 2014, a great book if you're interested in college football, the authors go into great detail about how the money negotiations were going in the Pac-12. Washington State and their new AD, Bill Moose, who had been the AD at Oregon before. Now, I'm not going to mince words. I don't think much for Bill Moose. He talks a lot about how he does things by the gut, doesn't believe in analytics. I think he was just in the right place at the right time when Uncle Phil built up the Oregon football program. How do I know? Because he went to Washington State, that didn't go so well, and then he went to Nebraska. How's their football program going? But he banded together a number of schools in the Pac-12 to deny the request from USC and UCLA for a bigger share of the annual payouts. Now, there's a precedence for a healthy league where the biggest markets got paid more. The English Premier League was founded by 5 clubs, and right now, the clubs that are at the top, the big 6, they get more money than the rest of the clubs. But that's okay with the rest of the clubs who are getting a financial windfall compared to where they were before. What did Washington State use that new windfall on? They built a stadium and hired Mike Leach. USC and UCLA aren't interested in watching Washington State try to keep up. It didn't pay off for them. You know, in our business, there's always going to be people who bring exponentially more to the table than others, whether that's departments, offices, divisions, or individuals. If they're not being properly rewarded and they see the bounty of their hard work going to less deserving teammates, looking at you, Washington State, sorry, they're going to leave. There's a number of reasons UCLA and USC left, and a number of things that pushed them over the ledge, including UCLA's debt and what looks like is going to be the formation of 2 super leagues. But I believe this domino, which occurred quite a while ago, was a very important one. When you have guys like Bill Moose in your business, you need to pay attention that they're looking out for themselves, not for the common good, and you need to get rid of them quickly. That's it for this week on the 3 things. We'll see everybody next week.